Hello everybody, my name is Kara, and today I am here with my spoiler-free review for Graceling by Kristin Cashore. This book is set in a fantasy world where certain people are born with incredible abilities, and they are called Gracelings. And Katza, our main character, is graced with the ability to kill. She's an incredible fighter and basically kept by the king as his enforcer and assassin even. As the book goes on, we start to realize there is a dangerous mystery that is affecting the people in this world. And Katza and Po, her companion, have to figure out what is going on in order to protect their kingdom from this threat. So first off, I really enjoyed the plot of this novel. I thought the mystery aspects were woven in really well with the world building, and I never felt lost or confused, and I also never felt bored, which was really exciting considering there is quite a lot of travel and like road tripping in this novel. And you guys might remember that's something I don't tend to enjoy, particularly like survival stories, and there is a chunk of this book that sort of reads like a survival story. And I didn't mind it because I was so invested in these characters and in what happened to them, and I was enjoying their interactions so much that it didn't bother me. So I think that's a huge point in its favor. One of my favorite aspects of this book was the lovable cast of characters. Maybe lovable is the wrong word, but I absolutely adored Katza as our protagonist. And I love the fact that although she was clearly a very strong and formidable opponent, she was never reduced to like this killing machine. Like, she never felt robotic or unresponsive. She did have emotional reactions to things, and maybe sometimes they were a little stunted because of the way she was brought up and this really bad environment that she grew up in, but she still had feelings, you know? I mean, ultimately she was just a very practical and pragmatic person who was not used to trusting other people. To see her start to learn more about her world and to come to terms with herself and her own worth and to begin to trust other people was just so wonderful, and I just loved her as a protagonist. I also loved the other main character, the love interest slash friend or companion named Po. He was just so wonderful. He is like the complete opposite of a controlling alpha male. There is this fantastic scene where Katza comes back from hunting and she says something to Po about like, oh, are you going to be intimidated because I was the one to feed you? Because that's something that Katza had experienced with other characters who were male. And Po's response is basically like, no, because I'm not stupid. You're a good hunter. It's great if you just want to feed me and I just sit here and look pretty. And it was just, he was so funny and endearing, and I just loved him. He is definitely book boyfriend material. I also want to address one of the main complaints that I came across about this book when I was reading other reviews, and that is this idea that Katza hates men or something. And apparently the reason people believe that about her after reading this book is that even after developing this loving relationship, she doesn't want to get married or have children. And I did not feel like that at all. Obviously, I can only give my opinion and my interpretation of the events in the book, but to my eyes, that's not what happened. Katza does develop a wonderful, loving, committed relationship with another person, and I think it's completely up to her, you know, if she wants to get married or if she wants to have children. And I think her reasons for not wanting to get married are really valid, especially when we see the reasons why in her backstory. In Katza's world, a married woman literally becomes the property of her husband, much like our own world in the not-so-distant past. And for somebody who grew up feeling controlled and like she was never going to be her own person, it makes sense to me that no matter how much she loves somebody, she doesn't want to give over all of herself to that person. And there's actually, I don't know the exact quote, but there's a part in this book where Katza is either talking to Po or thinking to herself about why she couldn't marry him. And she says that even though Po would never mistreat her or forbid her from doing something, she could not live knowing that she was only free because he gave her the freedom. And I think that with Katza's character and with everything we know about this world, that makes complete sense to me, and I don't feel like Katza is a man-hater because she doesn't want to put herself in that position. So that's my 2 cents about the whole like Katza being sexist against men and like man-hating aspect of this book. Going along with that whole like relationship discussion, I really appreciated how her love interest and even her friendships with other characters never like saved Katza. Really, her becoming close to other people just made her more comfortable with the aspects of herself that she already had. You know, it wasn't like Poe or another character transformed her into this different, better person. It was more like being exposed to people who were kind to her and who valued her made her more comfortable showing those parts of herself. And I really, really enjoyed that. I did wish we had a few more female characters in this book, and eventually we get to a point where there are a couple of them that I really, really enjoy. But that's really one of the only complaints I had, is it would have been nice to have some more women earlier on in the book. And finally, I also just really enjoyed the writing style of this book. Kristin Cashore has this really unique and I think almost rhythmic way of writing that doesn't really remind me of any other author. And I think this might be hit or miss. Like, I know of some people who read it and they just felt it was really awkward and they just didn't enjoy it, and that's totally fair. I understand why this is not for everybody, but I think one of the great things about the writing was the wonderful subtlety that it brought to the story it was telling. So as an example, one of the things that we as the reader notice when Katza becomes closer to Poe is, and this is even before they're in love and they're just like friends, is that she is laughing and smiling a lot more than she ever did before. Like, we notice that in her speech tags and just the narration. We know that Katza is laughing and smiling more often. Rather than the narrator telling us something like, oh, Katza had never laughed this much before Poe came into her life, we already knew that because of the subtlety of the writing. Like, we had already picked up on the fact that she was smiling more and that she was making jokes, and that once she had a friend, Katza could actually show these parts of herself that were separate from her graced abilities. So altogether, I really, really loved this book. I gave it 5 stars. I think pretty much everything about it was well executed and really surprisingly unique. I don't remember reading a fantasy story that was exactly like this. I would really recommend this book if you are looking for strong female characters who are still allowed to feel emotion and a fascinating, intricate plot with great world building and politics, and a relationship that you can really, really root for. You guys should let me know in the comments if you have read Graceling and what you thought of it, or if you haven't read it, are you interested in picking it up? I hope you enjoyed this video. I will see you soon with another one, and I hope you love the next book you read. Bye!